There is a version of you at work that you cannot see. You cannot see it because it doesn't exist in your presence. It exists in the conversations that happen after you leave the room, in the sidebar messages sent while you're still on the call, in the split-second expression that crosses your manager's face when your name is mentioned in a meeting you weren't invited to. It exists in the stories people tell about you. Not with malice, not with drama, but with that particular tone of resigned familiarity. Oh, that's just how they are. Your reputation is being built right now by behaviours you think are harmless. And here's the part that makes this genuinely difficult to hear. The behaviours building that version of you, the version that is quietly, steadily costing you, are almost certainly not the big things, not the dramatic outburst, not the obvious mistake, not the thing that would land you in an HR conversation. They are the small things, the habitual things, the things you have been doing so long and so consistently that you have stopped noticing them entirely.
The things that to you feel like personality, like communication style, like just being direct or just being thorough or just being honest or just managing your workload. Things you would defend if challenged because they feel natural and they feel fine. The most damaging reputation killers never feel like mistakes when you're doing them. I have spent years inside organizations, as an HR strategist, as a consultant, as someone who has sat in more talent discussions and performance calibration sessions than I can count. And in all of that time, there is a pattern that appears with extraordinary consistency. Welcome to Evolved Humans, and do not forget to subscribe for more useful content. The people who plateau, the people who get quietly passed over, the people who are technically excellent but somehow never quite land the opportunity they are clearly capable of, the people who are well liked but not quite trusted, respected but not quite advocated for. In the vast majority of cases, the reason is not incompetence, it is not a dramatic failure, it is not even interpersonal conflict. It is 3 specific recurring behaviours that erode professional credibility so gradually, most people never see it happening. That is what this video is about. We are going to name all 3. We are going to go inside the psychology of why they happen, and we are going to talk about what to do instead. Before we get to the 3 behaviours, I need to give you the right frame for this conversation. Because most people misunderstand what professional reputation actually is, and that misunderstanding is part of why they accidentally damage it. Here is the common misconception. Most people think their reputation is a summary of their work, their outputs, their deliverables, their results. They believe that if they do good work, if the quality is there, if the numbers are there, if the projects land, their reputation will take care of itself. And that belief is genuinely dangerous, because it is partially true, which is exactly what makes it so misleading. Reputation is not a record of what you did. It is a record of how people felt working with you. Let me be more precise. Research in organizational psychology, including the foundational work of Professors Rob Cross and Andrew Parker on social networks in organizations, consistently shows that professional reputation is built from 2 primary sources. The first is competent signaling, the evidence you provide, directly and indirectly, that you are capable of doing your job well. This is the part people understand: results, technical skill, reliability on deliverables. The second, and this is the one most people dramatically underinvest in, is relational credibility, the quality of the experience of working with you, the trust people extend to your intentions, the comfort people feel bringing you difficult information, the degree to which people find you safe to be honest around. When competence and relational credibility conflict, relational credibility wins almost every time. Think about the people in your organization who move, who get the stretch assignments, the sponsorship, the visibility, the room. They are not always the most technically brilliant people in the building. They are almost always the people whose relational credibility is high, the people who make their colleagues feel capable, considered, and safe. The people who, when their name comes up in a room, produce a quiet, instinctive yes. And then think about the technically excellent people who have stalled, who are productive but invisible, who produce great work that somehow doesn't translate into advancement, influence, or genuine opportunity. In the majority of those cases, it is not a competence gap. It is a relational credibility gap. And that gap is being built, brick by brick, interaction by interaction, by specific identifiable changeable behaviors, 3 of which we are about to discuss in full. The first behavior is one of the most widespread I have ever observed in professional environments, and it is one of the most misunderstood, because the person doing it almost always believes it is demonstrating the opposite of what it is actually communicating. The behavior is this: chronic over-explaining, and before you tell yourself that this doesn't apply to you, I want you to stay with me for a moment, because this behavior has more forms than most people realize, and at least one of them is almost certainly present in your professional life. Over-explaining at its core is the pattern of providing far more context, justification, background, reasoning, and qualification than the situation actually requires, and it shows up in several distinct but related forms. Form 1, the unsolicited justification. Form 2, the preemptive defense. Form 3, the qualification spiral. Form 4, the apology architecture. Let me walk through each one, because you need to be able to recognize them in yourself, in real time, to change them. Form 1, the unsolicited justification. You have made a decision. A colleague asks you about it, not challenging it, simply asking. And before they have finished their sentence, you are already explaining why you made it, walking through the considerations, the alternatives you evaluated, the constraints you were working within, the logic chain that produced the outcome. Nobody asked for the logic chain, they asked about the decision. But something in you, something that has probably been operating since before you were ever in a professional environment, interpreted the question as a challenge, as an implicit accusation of incompetence, and so it mobilized a defense before the attack ever arrived. Here is what the other person experiences when this happens. Not a confident, thorough professional. They experience someone who is uncertain of their own decisions, someone who needs external validation to feel secure in their choices, someone who at some level doesn't quite trust their own judgment, and therefore can't expect others to trust it either. Over-explaining doesn't signal thoroughness, it signals self-doubt. Form 2, the preemptive defense. This is perhaps the most reputation-damaging variant. It is the habit of defending yourself against a criticism that has not yet been made, and in doing so, inadvertently introducing that criticism into the conversation. It sounds like this. I know this might not be exactly what you were expecting, but I realize this took longer than anticipated, but what happened was, I want to explain why I went this direction before you look at it, because I know it might seem like...
What does the listener hear?
They hear this. Something is wrong with this. I know it. I need you to not think badly of me before you notice. The preemptive defense does not soften the blow. It creates the blow. It draws attention to the very weakness you are trying to protect, and it does so from a position of visible anxiety, which is the most credibility-eroding position you can occupy professionally.
A preemptive defense doesn't protect your credibility. It dismantles it before anyone else has the chance.
Form 3, the qualification spiral. This is the over-explainer in meetings, the person who, when asked to summarize a position, gives 3 caveats before the position itself, 4 qualifications after it, and a disclaimer about the limits of their analysis. Now, I want to be careful here because precision and nuance are genuinely valuable professional qualities. There are absolutely situations where qualification and context are not just appropriate but necessary. A lawyer advising on risk, a researcher presenting findings, a strategist outlining a decision framework. But there is a critical difference between purposeful precision and anxiety-driven overqualification, and the difference lies in who the qualification is serving. Purposeful precision serves the listener. It gives them information they need to make a better decision.
Anxiety-driven overqualification serves you. It hedges your position so comprehensively that you cannot be held fully accountable for it. It is the professional equivalent of refusing to put your flag in the ground, because if you never fully commit, you can never fully be wrong. Constant qualification is not intellectual rigor. It is risk management for your ego. And your colleagues, including the senior ones making decisions about your future, can feel the difference, even if they cannot articulate it. Form 4, the apology architecture. The chronic apologizer. The person whose professional communication is built on a scaffolding of unnecessary apologies. Sorry to bother you, but sorry, this might be a stupid question. I'm sorry if this isn't quite right. Sorry, just to jump in. Every unnecessary apology is a small, quiet tax on your own perceived status. A micro signal that reads, I am not sure I have the right to take up this space. And over hundreds of interactions, over weeks and months of professional life, Those microsignals accumulate into a picture. A picture of someone whose relationship with their own professional authority is fundamentally unresolved. Every unnecessary apology is a withdrawal from your credibility account. Now, where does chronic over-explaining come from psychologically? Why is it so widespread, and why is it so persistent even in people who are otherwise self-aware? Psychologist Jennifer Crocker at Ohio State University has done extensive research on what she calls contingent self-esteem. Self-worth that is conditional on external approval, performance outcomes, or the absence of criticism from others. People with high contingent self-esteem are not inherently less confident in a surface sense. They may present as highly capable and achievement-oriented, but underneath the presentation, their internal sense of value is perpetually seeking external confirmation. And the moment that confirmation feels threatened, even slightly, even hypothetically, the defense system activates. Over-explaining is often the professional expression of contingent self-esteem. It is the behavior of someone who needs the people around them to understand, at all times, why they made the choices they made, because without that understanding, the internal sense of value feels at risk. Over-explaining is often not about the work. It is about needing to be seen as capable by people whose opinion you fear losing. The antidote is not simply to speak less. The antidote is to build what psychologists call non-contingent self-esteem, a grounded sense of professional value that does not require constant external verification. And in the shorter term, it is to practice the discipline of saying less and meaning more. When you make a decision, state it. When you produce work, present it. When you are asked a question, answer it. Without the preamble, without the disclaimer, without the preemptive apology.
The silence after a confident, unqualified statement is not dangerous. It is powerful.
Say it once, mean it completely, then stop.
The second behavior is, in my professional experience, the single most damaging of the three. Because unlike over-explaining, which erodes perception, inconsistent reliability erodes something far more foundational.
It erodes trust.